Hello and welcome to
Back.
back. One of these days we're gonna get the intro right.
Yeah, not yet though.
Today is not that day.
No,
But why would we refilm?
I don't know.
Anyways, welcome back to Explaining to My Roommate. My name is Reagan.
And I'm Easton.
And we are roommates.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm a little nervous. I put a lot of study time into this episode, and I'm afraid to get things wrong. So.
Today's episode is Easton's turn, and I will let Easton take it away.
Alright, so in this episode, I am starting my Dragon Age lore series. I'm doing this between the first game and then the next two games because there's a lot of lore that I feel like needs to be understood to understand what happens in the other games. But the thing is there's so much. There's so much. In this episode, we will be focusing on the history of the Grey Wardens and the Blights, which is the subject of the first game. So my rule for these lore videos episodes, is that I will be covering things that could be reasonably known in the time of the game we most recently talked about. So what that means is that I'll talk about things that are shown in the first game, but also things that people would know at the time of the first game. So for example, there are a few passages of the Chant of Light, the Bible, in this world that do not get revealed in text to us until like the third game. But it's the Bible, people read it. It would be reasonably known by certain characters during the first game. And also, there's just some stuff that I want to say that's from later games, okay?
Okay.
God forbid.
I'm not stopping you.
I know. You don't know anything.
I don't know anything.
But let's just kind of get started with our heroes of the first game, the Grey Wardens. So a little bit of history about the Grey Wardens is they are an order that was founded during the events of the first Blight to stop the Blight. Ha ha ha. They are the only people who have ever figured out how to permanently slay an archdemon, and therefore it's super important and can kind of do whatever they want. They exist outside of any nations or laws, and they have unique legal powers. They have the right of conscription, which means they can just show up and say, "You're a Grey Warden now. Have fun.
Good luck."
And they can do that regardless of like political status, like a noble's son, they can just take him, and regardless of any crimes. You could be a mass murderer, and some characters are. But if you become a Grey Warden, you are completely absolved of those crimes. They also have treaties signed with the human nations, the Dalish, and the Dwarves that they must help the Grey Wardens in the time of a Blight. A Grey Warden can show up and be like, "You have to give me an army, like, to kill the Darkspawn." They are an order that exists of all nations, all backgrounds, all races and genders. The Grey Wardens do not care who you are, as long as you can kill Darkspawn. They do not care. They are a relatively small order, especially in the time of the Fifth Blight, because which is the Blight of the game of Dragon Age Origins. It's the Fifth Blight.
Yeah.
Because it's been so long between the Fifth and the Fourth Blight, some people even believed that the Blights weren't real, or that they were done, that there weren't going to be any more Blights because it had been so long. But the Grey Wardens were founded during the time of the first Blight, which began in negative 395 ancient. Now, there's a few theories on how the first Blight began, but the most widely accepted and believed is that of the Orlesian Chantry, that 7 Tevinter Magisters, each the high priest of one of the old gods, to quote the wiki, and also myself, because I guess there's only one way to phrase that. I wrote it exactly the same as the wiki, unintentionally. They use blood magic to break past the veil and step into the Fade physically for the first time, to take the seat of the Maker, known as the Golden City. In doing so, they corrupted the Golden City, turned it into the Black City, and the Maker released the Darkspawn as punishment. The Maker is God.
Okay.
The maker is
Okay.
God. Maybe I should have started with religions instead
Yeah,
of the
it's
blights.
fine.
But the dwarves just believe that the darkspawn always existed deep underground, and that in the year of the first blight, they just decided it was time to start killing people.
Mm-hmm.
And some Grey Warden scholars believe that the blight as a disease was always the thing until it corrupted Dumont, which, skipping ahead. So there are a few theories, but the most widely accepted is that of the Chantry, that the Tevinter Magisters, it's their fault.
It's their fault because they use blood magic.
Because they use blood magic.
Got it.
Now, the Magisters were each the priest of an old god, and there were seven known old gods. So these seven priests were known collectively as the Magister Sidereal, and they, in the name of their gods, decided they were going to take down the maker. Okay, that's and the gods and their priests were known as Dumont, the Dragon of Silence, conductor of the choir, and his priest was called the Conductor of the Choir of Silence. Dumont was the old god that was corrupted during the first blight and became the first archdemon. After that, during the second blight, it was Zazakel, the Dragon of Chaos. His priest was known as the Madman of Chaos. The third blight began when Toth, the Dragon of Fire, was corrupted. His priest was known as the Forgerite of Fire. The fourth blight was Endoral, the Dragon of Slaves. His priest was known as the Appraiser of Slaves, obviously. The fifth blight, our blight, began when Erthemiel, the Dragon of Beauty, awoke. His priest was known as the Architect of the Works of Beauty. The two remaining dragons that have not yet awoken are Razakale, the Dragon of Mystery, and Lusican, the Dragon of Night. Their priests are known as the Watchman of Night and the Augur of Mystery. I flipped those. So. But it doesn't matter. They aren't awake yet. They don't matter. I mean, they do. Razakale is actually my favorite name of all the dragons, but she's also the only girl dragon, I think.
Nice.
I think.
Slay Queen.
Slay Queen. So
it's okay, she's just a girl.
I know, she's just a girl. She's just sleeping in. So the first blight lasted the longest. It lasted nearly 100 years and was only stopped after the Grey Wardens were formed. They were formed in the year, was it 305? Is it 305? Or, well, it's negative 305 ancient, specifically. But, yes, it is what it is. And after they were formed, they killed the Archdemon Dumont multiple times before they discovered, one, the joining ritual, in which they drink darkspawn blood and become nearly immune to the disease called the taint that creates, well, not creates darkspawn, but like corrupts the land and destroys your body and kills you forever and turns you into a ghoul. And until they discovered that it had to be Grey Warden that killed the Archdemon.
Yeah.
To kill it permanently. The first blight was devastating for everyone. The blight itself corrupted the land and people, and it destroyed the entirety of the Dwarven Empire. The Dwarves believes that the Darkspawn and the blight always existed deep underground, because that is where the Darkspawn first appeared. And before anyone could do anything, most of the Dwarven Empire was in ruins, to the point that at the time of the fifth blight in our game, only one Dwarven city remains of a once great empire, and the rest of what they built is just taken over by Darkspawn. And even Orzammar is struggling. Okay, they are struggling to push back those Darkspawn, and keep them away. So after the first blight, each blight lasted less and less time until the fifth blight, which lasted less than a year. But that was a close thing. The Grey Wardens have a history of neutrality, but that is not necessarily true in Ferelden. there's a lot of distrust in Ferelden because of recent politics. Anyway, a Grey Warden called Sophia Dryden attempted to take over the Ferelden throne, and subsequently got the Grey Wardens banished from Ferelden. So a lot of Fereldans do not trust the Grey Wardens, and so it was difficult for our Wardens to get allies to stop the Blight.
Got it.
And recent history with Orlais, which had occupied Ferelden up until recent history, also caused a lot of distrust because since there weren't very many Ferelden Wardens, you were like, hey, can we get some Orlesian Wardens to help us? And they were like, Orlesians? Orlesians? You want to let them in our country? Yeah, Orlais occupied Ferelden for a while until Merrick Theron, the father of our lovable doofus royal bastard, Alistair, as
we learned
last time, led a successful rebellion with his closest friend Logain and his future wife Rowan, to get independence and get that throne back. So while our Blight lasted the least amount of time, it was a close thing because of stupid politics. Just fight the Blight, you know?
Just fight
the Blight. Now the Darkspawn as creatures are a little bit icky. So there are 4 types. So transitioning from like history of the Blights, I'm going to talk about the Blight as a disease and the Darkspawn as creatures. So there are 4 types of Darkspawn: the Hurlock, the Genlock, the Ogre, and the Shriek. Each of these correlate with a race in the world, Thedas. I don't know if I've ever told you that it's called Thedas. Have
you
no?
not.
Okay.
Good to know, though.
The Hurlocks are like humans, the Genlocks are like dwarves, the Ogres are like Qunari, and the Shrieks are like elves. Darkspawn are born when a woman of any of these race is taken by the Darkspawn to the Deep Roads, and we're going to skip over what happens to her.
Okay.
But the point is she becomes a brood mother and gives birth to these children of whichever race she was. It's very disturbing. There's a whole sequence in Dragon Age Origins that describes how brood mothers are created.
Got it.
We're just going to skip that. Most agree that the Darkspawn have no thoughts or souls, that they are mindless creatures controlled by the song of the archdemons that calls them to corrupt the old gods and create them into archdemons. But that is not necessarily true. We see in the Dragon Age Origins DLC, Awakening, that I skipped over last time, that there is a way, through a sort of joining, similar to the Grey Warden joining, to free Darkspawn from the group thought, from the groupthink, and give them their own thoughts and personalities and free will. This also potentially could free the Grey Wardens from the main drawback of the joining, which is having too much blight in their blood, and that slowly kills them, and eventually can create, in over like the course of like 30 years, can turn them into a ghoul and kill them. I mentioned ghouls earlier. That's what happens when I should have been more specific, but when someone is infected with the blight, they slowly just go insane and they become this really weird looking creature.
Got it.
This is known. It's known. Okay. When that starts to happen to a Grey Warden and they start to hear the song of the Archdemon, it's known as the Calling. And it's how a Grey Warden knows they're at the end of their life.
Got it.
I'm really bad at this. Haha.
That's fine. It's just a conversation.
I know. But the Calling is really important to the future. Not yet in the future, but in books. It's important in the books. It has not been super important in the... Well, it's kind of important, but that was fake. Anyway. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. It's more important in the books than it is in the games at the moment. But we discover all of this because of a really weird Darkspawn called the Architect. He shows up in the DLC because he is out here making Darkspawn have free will. And his goal is to create peace between the Darkspawns and the races of Thedas by essentially making everyone a Darkspawn. So he wants to infect everyone with the Blight. To summarize, I mean, his intentions sort of change. Then put them through this joining thing and basically create everyone to have the Blight in some sense.
Got it.
But the thing about the Architect is he's weird. He's really tall.
Okay.
For one. And he, even without going through this sort of joining, he can talk, he can move. He seems absolutely ancient. And he doesn't die when you kill him.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't die. You don't have to kill him. I don't kill him because I feel like he's not going to die anyway, and I just don't want to make him mad.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to come back anyway.
Be on
Might
his
as well.
good side.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't kill the Architect. So he's really interesting. We learn that perhaps the Darkspawn are not necessarily mindless creatures, that they're just controlled by the Blight the same way that a Grey Warden who got a little bit too old is. Not quite the same. But the thing is the Blight, they are still infected with the Blight and they can still spread the Blight. Now the Blight as a disease is not fun. It corrupts the land. It's said that when the Horde, to quote the wiki, when the Horde marches, dark clouds fill the air and like fill the sky, and like the air itself changes. And like you can't grow things on land where the Darkspawn have like touched.
Yeah.
Kind
of like a plague.
Yeah, essentially. And then the Blight in people, if you like touch Darkspawn blood is the main way to get infected with the Blight. It just slowly kills you. It's like low-key horrifying.
Kind of like bloodborne illnesses.
Yeah.
Hepatitis. But those don't kill you.
No. Maybe more like, no, tuberculosis isn't right either. Because that's air. But, the getting all like gaunt and like hollow.
Got it.
And there's only one known cure for the Blight, and that's becoming a Grey Warden. Going through the joining. Except you can cure your dog of the Blight.
Ooh. I'd do it.
Except early in the game, you run into this kennel master at Ostigard. And he's like, this dog has the Blight. I've heard of these wildflowers that can cure the dog. And so you go get the wildflowers and the dog gets cured.
Got it.
And it's like, but you didn't put the dog through the joining. It is said that the joining includes Darkspawn blood, a drop of Archdemon blood, and then some herbs from nature. Unspecified. And I think lyrium, I don't have it. I didn't do research for this part. I don't know if it has lyrium in it.
Got it.
And so maybe that flower is one of the herbs, and since a dog is built different than a human, we don't really know how the heck that cured the dog, but it did. It did. So there are theoretically other ways to cure the Blight, but the only known effective way is the joining. And even then, there's no guarantee you survive the joining. Yeah. There's no guarantee the Wardens would take you. Because if you're like a little kid, they'll be like, well, you can't fight the Darkspawn. What are you gonna...
You're just a kid.
We can't waste Archdemon blood on you.
Yeah.
Get out. Get out.
That's rough. That's ageism right there.
Rough to be a kid, Doc. And okay, so I think I've said pretty much everything I need to for Reagan to have a basic understanding of the Blights. And so in a complete deviation, I'm going to talk about how years work.
Nice. And I would like to preface, just because you said it doesn't mean I understand it.
Okay. I kept it real basic. I want that to be very clear.
This was I'm just stupid.
Okay.
Nothing against you. I just... a little bit dense.
Yeah.
Anyways, year structure.
Okay. So the calendar that is used is that of the Orlesian Chantry. And we will talk about the Chantry in cultures in a different episode. My next episode will be religions and cultures. And it will be just as brief and basic as my explanation of the Blights.
Got it.
Just real quick overview with a few important details. So the divine, the Pope, every 100 years, the divine names the next age, the next 100 years. So before the time of Andraste, Jesus,
Got it. Got it.
The time before Andraste is known as ancient, and it counts upwards. So we have, like I said, negative 395 ancient is the start of the first Blight, so it counts backwards.
Got it.
Did I say upwards the first time? I did. The first age is the divine age, right after Andraste. And then we have the glory age, the towers age, the black age, the exalted age, the steel age, the storm age, the blessed age, or blessed? No, blessed. And then, most importantly, the dragon age.
Yes.
The dragon age. And that's why the game's called that. So I don't really care about all the other ages. The current age is named because a high dragon was sighted for the first time in like a real long time.
Got it.
And the divine at the time sensed that there would be great change during this age. And she was right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just a little bit of housekeeping. And they're structured as in, so the blessed age is the 8th age, and then the year comes after. So for the dragon age, it's the 9th age, and then the year comes after. So the Battle of Denerim that slayed the archdemon Arthemiel took place in 931 dragon. So the 9th age, the 31th year, the name of the age. That's it. That's all. And that's the calendar that the Chantry decided we all had to use. There are months, but I don't really think that's all important.
I think that's fine.
I don't care. I don't know. I feel like there's so much more to say about the Blights, but I also think there's nothing more to say about the Blights.
I think it's fine.
Okay, time for questions.
Question time.
And these questions are gonna help me figure out if I actually said things that I wanted to say. Ha ha.
And maybe I'm just stupid also.
That's, yeah, well, me too. So, an easy one, because I know you wrote it down. Which race is each type of darkspawn correlated with?
Oh, I know this one. Okay. Now, the thing is I'm not going to say them wrong.
It's okay.
But the humans spawn is a Herlock. Genlock is the dwarfs.
Mm-hmm.
An ogre is a Cunari. And then a shriek is the elves.
Yes. Okay. Who?
Point Reagan.
Point Reagan.
I'm going to keep that. 1 me.
Who was the first old god to be corrupted and start a blight?
Is it Dumont?
Yes.
Yes!
Okay. Who
began the first blight? I wrote that.
Yep. Who was the 5th archdemon to be corrupted and start a blight? The archdemon of our blight.
Okay.
It's okay.
It's Artheniel?
Arthemiel. But yes.
Yay! The Architect of Beauty.
Well,
that's the priest.
Yeah. The Architect of Beauty.
Architect. Oh, yeah. See, I'm writing shorthand.
Just, so the blight is 2 things. It's both a blank and a blank. What are those 2 things?
Oh, God.
It's kind of, I don't think you would have written it down in that way.
Okay.
But think about what the blight is in the way that I've talked about it.
Well, it's a disease.
Mm-hmm. Correct. That's 1.
Is it a calling?
An event, I was going to say.
Oh, yeah. See,
like it's a disease, and then a blight is also a thing that happens.
Got it.
Like how Dumont began the first blight. You see what I mean? I should have been more.
No, it's fine. I'll give myself half a point.
Yeah, you got the disease.
I got the disease.
Yeah. The calling is what happens when a Grey Warden gets old and they
Got
get a
it.
little bit too corrupted
Too corrupted.
by the Blight. Why were the Grey Wardens exiled from Ferelden?
Because Sophia tried to take over the
Yes.
throne.
Now, don't get me wrong. She low-key had good reasons, but she did break her oath.
Damn.
And lost.
And
Shouldn't have
lost.
lost. Shouldn't have lost. So you got 4.5.
Yes!
I love that
That's
for
way
you.
better than last week.
I
think I got like 2 or 3 last week. I did not do well last week.
It's okay.
Anyways.
Yeah. So next episode, Reagan will. Which boy are you talking about?
I don't know if I'm talking about a BTS member next week.
Okay.
I might pull something out of my repertoire of things
Ooh.
to talk about. We'll see what happens. I want to sprinkle my BTS episodes, so I'm not just like BTS.
No, I'm going full on Dragon Age.
Because I can understand. But like that makes sense. This is a video game. BTS I'm not gonna say it's a controversial topic, but like some people don't want to listen to BTS 24/7. So
and it might be. I could see that, especially because like I feel like you would be talking about similar things over and over again. Whereas I'm going through a whole history of an entire nation.
No, for sure. Anyways, but yeah, next week will be my week to discuss a topic. We'll see what I pick.
We'll see.
And yeah, so thank you so very much for listening to this episode of Explaining to My Roommate. And we hope to see you next week.
Goodbye.
Bye.